Welcome to What the Wednesday! It is a bit of a sad day. Let me show you what I got in the mail today. Or I got it in the mail a few days ago, but I only actually looked at it today. Turns out, these amazing Cyborg Ring pieces that I ordered from Osh Park, we'll talk about this in a second, came and they're beautiful and wonderful and I'm really excited to work with them, but they all came with the same little spot broken. And I think that they were in the package like this and somebody just like treated it a little rough and now they're all snapped and I didn't cry but I felt like it. So first off, what is this? This is the Cyborg Ring by Zach Frieden, who is like incredible. He is the creator of the NeuroTinker set, which is a set of PCBs that help you sort of understand and model how the human brain works. So it's funny because today I had actually planned on doing a little show based on this idea of fixing up PCBs, kind of inspired by this tweet by Piotr, the creator of the 1Bitsy development board. And this is an incredible photo because it shows, how he had to fix up a PCB that he got and make the circuit work. You see things sometimes where someone has like made the circuit with the transistors the wrong way around or whatever, and they've got to do some sort of like creative soldering and stuff. It happens all the time while you're prototyping, and sometimes you don't want to wait for like weeks for a new PCB, right? And so, he started out with tiny magnet wire, which is what you see as the sort of thicker copper tubes there. Let me see if I can even get this a little bit bigger. Yes! Oh, glorious! So these guys in the middle here, the big ones, and that's magnet wire, which is already very, very small. It is insulated copper wire that is just, really useful for small jobs. And then he's gone and done like an entire second layer of fix on top of that. And this tiny strand of copper that you see here is actually a thread from a piece of solder wick. I thought this was brilliant. I want to show you what I'm talking about. Solder wick is this stuff that you use if you mess up while you're soldering and you need to pull off some of the solder. It's useful, for example, for removing headers, or you have a bunch of solder like in a row and there's no way you can heat the entire thing at once except with like a heat gun and maybe mess up your circuit. To get the whole row of headers off. So you go down the line with this solder wick and sort of apply it along with heat. And the copper is so conductive relative to whatever you're soldering that it'll just sort of pull the solder off with a little bit of capillary action, I think, as well. And it'll just sort of, so then you snip off that bit that is like now saturated with solder and you go down. And these little hairs in here are really fine, like even finer than whatever magnet wire Piotr had on hand. So that I thought was a really clever fix. And so I've actually lost my magnet wire and I'm inspired to go ahead and try to fix these ones that I have. But first I want to show you a couple of more examples of bodging. So we've got the new Optic Spy. I published a tutorial on using this with the Tomu, remember that? You should go check it out. If not, this thing is super cool. It decodes optical signals that are encoded in flashes of light. Super neat. And it uses USB Mini because the creator has many opinions on the robustness of Mini versus micro USB. And here's the sensor on this end. This is the new fancy-ass version, fancy version that people got at Teardown Portland a couple weeks ago. And this is the previous version that we had, and it has very authentic construction. You can see it was done by hand, and you can also see where it's still in the prototyping stage. Yeah, so this bit here that was later modified had this little connection here. I wonder if you can see that. Oh, no, not really. Anyway, really fascinating to see a little bit of the process of prototyping something like this, which looks like it comes out looking super official and machine made and like, but in this version you can kind of see the humanity and part of the process and how it's less daunting, it's like it does take a bunch of tries to get something right. Really neat. And then also, just for context, a little while ago I was soldering together the Oshui board by Gustavo Renaga, one of our ambassadors, and it came with huge buttons. I could not use the huge buttons. These are tiny buttons compared to those huge buttons, but the ones on the board need to be even smaller. So I did not have those, so I went ahead and just grabbed a couple out of my toolbox. These little tactile switches, which feel so delightful and clicky, and just sort of managed to get them in there whichever way. It's sort of the fun and creative part of troubleshooting. So, what do we do here? I think I want to try this solder wick method. And in order to do that, basically I'm going to pick the least sort of traumatized one of these, which I think is going to be this one. And I already tested scraping off the solder mask with a little bit, with my knife, just to expose a little bit of the copper so that I could solder the two bits together. I'm going to have a little wire bridging the two. And then I think I'm going to epoxy around it so that it's more stable. And then I'm going to apply some, well actually no, the epoxy should be enough. If it were stable on its own, I would probably just put some nail polish over the joint because then that will like insulate it as well. I'm not going to do the epoxy bit on screen, but I thought that I would let you see what I'm doing here. As I said, like, it's perfect timing. I was planning to talk about this already, and here comes a perfect example. I hope this goes well. I don't have the components for this yet, but I might end up just sort of making my own circuit anyway with what I got on hand. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead again and like scrape off a little bit of that solder mask. Maybe it's actually better if I look in the camera. Oh, this is a little nerve-wracking. No, I'm gonna look at my fingers. Okay. I thought I could do this, but kind of peeking around the camera here. Y'all get the close-up, and I'm just kind of like over here like, what's going on? So this is a little place where basically it's connecting the ground plane over here to the ground pin over there through a via. So yeah, just to show you real quick. This little right hand, the rightmost pin over here, is connected by a tiny little trace, which you can see if I do this with the light, to a via there that goes through the board. And then that via connects to a trace on the other side, which is here. And then that goes to this other via, which is right where it snapped. And that goes to this ground plane. So I figured that this would be the best place to repair it. I thought about trying to run a wire like from the pin, like skipping out on that whole thing, like over to here maybe. But that seems like it would be the wrong approach. Also, I don't have any like actual magnet wire that would be insulated. So if I ran it all the way along here, then I'd run the risk of shorting it out with something else. Like you see over here, you've got insulated wire over here, and the one that Piotr used was, for most of it was magnet wire, so that had enamel on it. I'm gonna keep doing this, just off screen, just so I can do it and get it done fast. Or, you know, blurry for you. There's just a little bit of that copper right next to the joint. I spend so much time with my nose like almost on this table. Just trying to scrape off that top layer so I can solder to it, but not going through the copper. The nice thing about this actually is that Oshpark's, these are all Oshpark boards. They're like, you can tell from the purple and gold and stuff. They're half height boards, which is what these are. Like compared to a full thickness one. Their half height boards also come with double the thickness of copper, which should make this a little easier for me to do without scratching through the copper itself. Okay, let's see if we can solder this together. It's so pretty. Turning on my soldering iron. I'm gonna clean the tip really nicely because this is a really tiny job. I'm honestly not sure that my gigantic soldering iron is the best thing for this, but I've got a pair of tweezers to hold the wire in place. We'll see what happens. Here's a 1-bitsy while that's warming up. It's got a cute little skull logo on there, and it's by 1-bit Squared, which is Piotr's company. Cool. Soldering iron's still heating up. Let's see. So what is the 1-bitsy? It's an open source debuggable ARM development board. 1bitsy.org. Cool. Comes with this whole like pinout diagram and everything. You can find the companion Blackmagic Probe debugger and programmer at if you go to their site and look for the Blackmagic Probe. Super cool. Oh, this is from Open Hardware Summit 2016. Wow. Okay. Looks like we're good. Okay, yeah, let's clean this off as well as possible. Another super useful soldering tool that you don't see on screen much is this little canister of cleaner that I stick the tip into, and then yeah. Okay, let's see if I can just cut off a teeny tiny incy-wincy piece of this desoldering braid. It's called solder wick or desoldering braid. Both are totally valid. Oh my. Oh, I can barely see it. Okay. I guess I'll just put some solder onto the thingies first. Both sides. Make sure it's aligned as well as possible. That's pretty good. This one stayed pretty well aligned. I might actually do a few of these. We'll see. Just to... Oh, great. Oh, you know what? I might just be able to glob some solder across there. You know what? I'm totally just going to do that. This is probably going to be stronger. Yeah. Oh, that was easier than I expected. We can play with solder wick another day, don't worry. Of course. Globbing solder onto stuff is totally valid and super fun. And I've used it for creating like connections on jumper or proto boards and stuff. You can jump little pads to each other and stuff. So yeah, okay. Hopefully that's pretty stable. I don't see why it wouldn't work. The real test will be when I actually assemble the whole thing. And somehow I seem to have another set of these on the way. I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm excited about it. So hopefully those won't be broken and we can sort of compare. Super excited! Yeah, Zach, this is an amazing project. Someone else has already proposed to their girlfriend in with one of these in apparently what is more of a sort of civil ceremony for like citizenship purposes or tax purposes or something, but still super exciting. And I can't wait to wear one of these because it is so cool. Just look up the Cyborg Ring and you will be able to find this. Alright, thanks for watching. Have an awesome rest of your What the Wednesday, and may the PCB odds be ever in your favor. Ciao.